So are you all sleepy? No. Okay. Let's start with this slide. Usually, this is the common phenomena that will happen. Our dream will be high, our introduction, everything will be high, and suppose if you write, everything will be as much as beautiful as a horse. But at the end, the results and discussion will be really weaker. So my intention is basically to how to make it a little more clearer or stronger in terms of results and discussion. So for results, let me start with a question. Uh, so are you interested in epidemiology and biostatistics? Because of this problem, I can't even ask no. So probably your answer will be yes or no. Or another question, can you sit in a biostatistics class? How long you can sit? So again, it will be an open-ended question. Answer must be probably 1 minute, 2 minutes. That's up to you. So my answer is actually 1 minute. So let's go to the answers proper. So what are they? For us, probably it is just like a time pass, but for a statistician, this is nothing but variables, which varies between two things. So in the classification of variable, you might have already learned this is quantitative variable, which we can quantify and we can measure in, or we can express in units. So sorry, this is the quantitative variable, and these are the qualitative variables where you can either categorize or call according to their characteristics. So for them, they are the variables, and for a researcher, it could be a question. So once again, let me repeat or re-emphasize the point that the variables can be divided into quantitative as well as qualitative or categorical. Quantitative variables like this, we can quantify. It could be continuous or discrete. Or qualitative variables, probably nominal, whether the tea is hot or cold, or ordinal, where there will be an order like medium strong and light strong, light tea, strong tea, like that. So for the time being, you just concentrate on what is quantitative variable. Quantitative variable we can measure and we can express in units like time, like spoon, sugar content. Qualitative variable we can categorize. So these are the two types of variable. If you can, if you are well aware of this the difference, then our session will be much more easy. So without data, you are just another person with an opinion. So most often we need to have some sort of measurement, or with the help of numbers only you can express your opinion much more clear way. So the first step for data analysis is not something known as data entry. So this is the first step. It can be done manually or computer. We got Microsoft Excel, SPSS, Info, Epidata. So many spreadsheets are available. Even Google spreadsheets are available. So you can either use by hand or you can use computer. So this was the earlier method we were using. So suppose, do you smoke? This was my question. If the answer is yes, I will make some marks like this. If it is no, like this, and finally I will count it. So this is the method which earlier we used. Now I just want to tell you something related to the coding system. Along with that, I want to introduce something known as probability. So probability is the most often used, probably a misnomer or a real term in our epidemiological or biostatistical analysis, which we are trying to find it out during proper analysis. In common man's language, it is nothing but luck. So suppose if I am tossing a coin, the answer could be, well, I will get head or tail. If I am using this for some sort of gambling technology, gambling, so this probability actually adapted from the gambling games. So for here, I'm just using this for coding system. So if I get head, I will call it as 1. If I get tail, I will call it as 0. So how I can enter in the Excel sheet? So everybody must be knowing about the Excel sheet. The page will be like this. There will be so many columns and rows. So first row, better you enter headings like serial number, those results, and the one column you must use for one variable. Here I used, this is for toes result, 0 for head and 1 for tail. Like this we can use. So here there is another sheet. You can use so many sheets. So click here the plus button. Here you will get another sheet. Here I use the second page for entering that coding. So that I won't miss the code. Tail 0, head 1. So this is the simple method by which you can use Excel sheet. Please remember the first row you can use for heading, and one column is for only for one variable. Let me clear with another example. So why we are using Excel? It is easy and can be imported, exported to any other software. So that's why even you can use Excel for using all basic analysis. So that's why we are using, or most of it we are using Excel sheet. So one more point related to coding: all continuous variable or quantitative variable you have to enter as such. That is age. My age is 43, so you have to enter 43. Systolic BP 140 or 120, you have to enter like that. Qualitative data or categorical data, gender, male 1, female 2. Then that you have to do with some sort of numerical coding. So like this, suppose this is the Excel data sheet for another study. I will use the patient ID like this, just like a serial number. Age is a quantitative variable. I entered quantitative variable as such, like 18, 24, 16. So the advantage is I can take mean, median, whatever summary measures. I can even classify 10 to 20. So you have to please make sure that all quantitative variable you please enter as such. Then for qualitative variable, for example, here they use smoker 1, non-smoker 2. So you give code for all categorical variable. So I think this is clear now. Now we will go into why we need to do analysis. So for obtaining usable and useful information, we need to analyze the data. So the analysis, there could be quantitative and qualitative. Mainly we will be dealing with quantitative analysis only. So through analysis, we can describe and summarize the data. We can identify the relationships between the variable. We can compare the variable. We can identify the difference. We can even forecast the outcome. So many benefits are there by doing proper analysis. So what is data analysis? Data analysis is the art and science of discovering information concealed in numbers. So data and analysis part, we got two. So, I mean, we can even divide into two: descriptive statistics. This Dr. Rajini already described to you. Descriptive statistics, which will describe or summarize the data, which will be the essential features of that particular data. Inferential statistics will give you some sort of conclusions or inferences by finding something known as statistical significance. From now on, you will often going to hear what is the statistical significance, or the another terminology is p-value. P is nothing but probability value. So statistical significance, you can find it out by two methods. One is estimation technique. There we will use something known as 95% confidence interval estimation, and another most commonly employed one is hypothesis testing. So you might have heard about two tests: chi-square test and t-test. So for simplicity, once again I will repeat, we got two types of statistics: descriptive statistics, which will describe or summarize the data; inferential statistics, which will tell you the conclusions or inferences by finding the statistical significance or p-value. Sorry, and the p-value or the statistical significance, not p-value, statistical significance can be achieved by two methods. One is through calculating 95% confidence interval, and another by using hypothesis testing and finding out p-value. So I think this part is clear. So this is the basic thing we need to understand: descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. So again, I'm going to that classification part. Most of you may be seeing like this. Just I want to tell you something related to dogs, because I was interested in dogs. So the number of dogs is nothing but a quantitative variable, because I can count it. So for curiosity, I started to roam around in our campus and started to count our. This is the one fine day I got this much dogs distributed in our campus. So in statistics, on biostatistics, what they will do is they will try to convert the frequency distribution either through the graphs or frequency distribution tables. So this is the simplest descriptive method. Here, this is discrete data, that is whole number. How many dogs are there? Around 2 dogs are there in the old administrative block. So that's why I used bar diagram. If it is continuous, we will use something known as line diagram, or there won't be any gap. This is known as histogram. So there is that we can use. So this is a simple frequency. Then I want to convert into probability distribution. What I'm doing is I will use the x and y axis, name of places, frequency of the dog. I had taken empty number of data, so many places. So the data will be like this. This you might have seen. This is a famously known as normal curve or normality, where your mean, median, everything will be coinciding. So what is the advantage is that you can even find out how many dogs will be there in a particular position. So you can um, know the if you know the distribution of an event, we can calculate the probability of event occurring. So for the time being, what we need to know is whether our data set, our sample data follows normality or not. So there are so many techniques. The simplest method is you can just look at the mean, median, and mode, whether these three measures are the same or not. Or you can even statistically test it. So that is a little bit complicated. I'm leaving the part. So another point I want to stress is, in my previous session I have already told you what is population and what is sample and what is the use of randomization. So I got a common nice example. If you are not ready to believe in randomization, random sampling, the next time if you want to have study related to blood sugar estimation or any blood cell counts, then tell the staff to take the entire 5 liter of the blood. Why? Because then only you can you will get the correct, accurate data. But this is not possible. So always better use some sort of randomization methods for selecting sample from a study population. This is the point I want to tell you. Why? Because uh, sorry, then only you can project the data into the population. So using analysis using software, there are empty number of free and open softwares are available. OpenEpi, EpiInfo. So these are the open softwares, and so many paid softwares like SPSS, Stata. So many others are available. So here for convenient purpose, I am using SPSS software. So before doing some sort of any analysis using any software, please remember this computer doesn't have intelligence. So you have to give the command. So you have to look first. You have to look at the what are the types of data you are going to analyze, whether it is quantitative or qualitative. The next thing you have to look for the whether the data follows normality or normal curve. And the third thing, then only the associations or correlations or difference, what exactly you are looking for, that will come. Then one more important criteria is whether the data is pre and post, or are you talking about some sort of intervention. So these 3 points are very important. Most important point is the type of data. So you must be thorough with whether your data is quantitative or qualitative. Okay. So why you want to know that? Suppose your data is qualitative. Suppose I want to know whether hot tea are more stronger or cold tea are more stronger. So here I am using two types of data. One is tea and the characteristic of the tea, whether it is hot and cold. So this is a qualitative one. Again, I am using the another one, that is the another quality of another tea. Tea, same tea, whether it is strong tea, light tea, like that. So both are qualitative. Then I can use something known as chi-square test. If I am going to use the amount of sugar with strong or tea, strong or light tea. So amount of sugar, you know that I can even quantify, or we can measure by using tablespoon as a unit. So I can measure and I can express in 2 spoons, 3 spoons, 4 spoons, like that. So this is a quantitative data. Then I am going to test which whether strong tea has got more amount of sugar. So here there are two classes or categories, strong tea and light tea. So I can use tea test. If there is more than two classes like strong tea, light tea, moderate tea, moderately strong tea. So there are more than two classes, three classes. Then I have to use ANOVA test. So this is a simple thing. If both are qualitative, you will use chi-square test. If one is quantitative and the other one is qualitative with two classes or two categories, you will use independent sample t-test or student sample t-test. If one is quantitative and the qualitative data contains more than 3 categories, you have to use ANOVA, analysis of variance. If both are quantitative, like amount of milk and amount of sugar, then I have to use something known as correlation. Correlation test. These are the basic 3 or 4 biostatistical tests you must be aware. So please don't confuse both qualitative chi-square, both quantitative correlation. One is quantitative and another one is qualitative. Either you can use t-test if it is more than less than 2 categories, and more than 2, you have to use ANOVA. So basically, by doing this biostatistical testing, you will be thinking about the p-value or probability value. If it is less than 0.05 or not. The probability value is the probability of the event occurring due to chance. It must be less than 5%. If time allows, I will come with a story for this 5%. So, so these are the key aspects. So I want to just introduce this SPSS software. This is the page. When I open this SPSS software page will be like this. There will be a data view page and a variable view page. So just like an Excel sheet, you can see. So how to import the Excel data into this software. So for that, what we will do is we have to go for that. You have to open the Excel software. Either you can click this file. So if you click the file, you will have open and data command, and you can see where I have stored the data command in desktop, and it is not seen here. Why? Because by default, the SPSS software will show the type of data as .sav. So I have to change the type of data into Excel, then only that this will come. So just go to that open, and where your data was stored. I'm stored the data in the desktop. That's why I went to desktop, and I am going to change the Excel format. So then again, one more popping box will come, whether you have to read the variable name. So you have to select it, yes. Then you click OK. You will get the Excel data sheet. So this is the data sheet related to one lifestyle disease. So you can see there is one view, that is data view, where you will see the entire data just like an Excel sheet. Variable view will show you only this name of the variable. So just closely look at the data sheet. Can you see a story here? That's the story of a lifestyle disease. So many persons has got a elderly persons. There is so many are got hypertension. So many got obesity. So we can calculate everything from here. So I will go to some sort of simple calculations. So this is the variable view, what I was referring to. So these are the common variables I am talking about. Lifestyle disease, either hyperlipidemia, diabetes, salt consumption, oil consumption, physical activity, stress, alcoholism, or I can calculate like this. So there are 17 variables, sorry 16, one is serial number. So we got data view sheet and variable view sheet. Now I'm going to the story as such. So descriptive statistics is just like the essence of the story, summary of the story. Usually, suppose you are going to buy a new book, what you will do? You will go to the back side of the cover, right? There they will be giving some summary of the story. So descriptive statistics must be like that. So just like a story once upon a time, that like that. So my N, or number of persons, I studied 143 persons, or I sampled 143 persons from my study population, probably from nearby Panchayat, Mulangutua Panchayat. Then I will describe. So summary statistics. So mean age is a quantitative variable. So quantitative variable, I will summarize using mean and standard deviation. Mean plus or minus standard deviation. So here the mean was this one. Even I can opt that minimum and maximum. This will give you an idea related to the age of the persons. Is it an aged population? Even you can say it is an aged population, because here it is 49 and this 10. So around 95%, if you take 95%, it will be around 70 to 30. So like that you can calculate. And then I will go for female and male. I will take female and male. Basically it's a qualitative variable. That's why I used proportions or frequencies to summarize it. So here female, I can compare, just like in Kerala population, we got more number of females. So percentages will help you to compare between number of or the situation in Kerala or even with India. So there will be some difference. Then the most important thing I want to study is prevalence. Prevalence is nothing but again proportion. Those with lifestyle disease divided by the numerator is 143. So here I got it as men. 78.32, and there I use another terminology known as 95% confidence interval. So it extends from 70 to 84. Let me try to explain what it is. So again, probably you may be bored with my examples with the sample and population, but this is very, very important. Why? Because we can't study any population in a full context. That's why always we will opt. It's just like suppose if you want to check the sugar, you won't consume the entire cup of tea. You will take even a small sip and you will taste whether the sugar is there or not. Then if the sugar is less, you will add in the that full tumbler cup of tea, not in the sample. So this is how our research must be. You have to have a pakka sampling technology. Then what you want observing the data, you have to infer in the population. So here, suppose in the sample I got 2 teaspoons of sugar. By using some sort of mathematical calculations, I can even infer it is the 95% confidence interval as 1.5 to 4 teaspoon sugar in this my study population, that is my tumbler full of tea. So wow, there are so many standard error methods, so I am not going to that calculation process as such. I just want you people to understand the concept of 95% confidence interval. In sample, I got 2 teaspoon. Then what I can do is there are certain statistical method by which I can calculate what will be the proportion of sugar in the study population. So I got it as 1.5 to 4%. So what this 95% means, 95% chance is that the sugar content in the population will be from 1.5 to 4 teaspoon, even without I am studying or estimating the sugar content in this one. I just estimated from the my sample. Okay. So there are some certain methods. Easiest method is so what is 95% confidence interval? 95% chance that the population summary measure will occur in the given range. So that is the meaning of 95% confidence interval. So here I got lifestyle diseases 112 out of 143. So what I will do is, for easy purpose, I will simply Google 95% confidence interval calculator for proportions. So many softwares will come up. So usually I will use this Wasserstat. So I will click this. So if I click this, so there will be a column like this. So K is the numerator, N is the denominator. So proportion will be the 0.78. So what I will do is I will enter this and I will click calculate. Then I will get the 95% confidence interval. So 70 to 84. So this is easy method. So for example, let me give you one more example. Prevalence of lifestyle disease in the same sample, it was 70 to 95% confidence interval was 70 to 84. Then I estimated the prevalence of osteoarthritis. Again, that probably if I am taking a sample and this is my population, it 95% confidence interval says that prevalence of osteoarthritis ranges from 30% to 54%. So you can see there is no overlap. Here it is NC 54. Lifestyle disease starting from 70. So there is no overlap. So what I can conclude is there is statistically significant increased prevalence of lifestyle disease depending upon the 95% confidence interval. So I can conclude there is a high prevalence of lifestyle disease in that particular population. So this is the easiest method by which I can conclude it. So again, I am going back to the descriptive statistics. You can use numerical summaries like mean plus or minus standard deviation, graphical things, or even simple frequency tables will help you to organize, analyze, and give you a summary measure of your data. So that is nothing but descriptive statistics. So how you can, and I just want to show you some easy techniques by which you can use or you can take frequencies using SPSS software. So if you open SPSS, the third tab will be analyze. Go to descriptive statistics, go to then click frequencies. Frequencies. Then these are the frequencies I want to know. So I just click this gender. I will transport to the variable box. I'm transporting here. So here I have transported. Then I will click OK. So you in the output sheet, there is a separate output sheet. You will get that frequency. The male I got 64, that is 44.8%, and female this is 55.2. So very easily you will get frequencies by using SPSS. Any software, most often you will have a frequency command and you will get it. Now I'm going to something known as inferential statistics, probably the actual inside of the story. There may be so many associations and relationships. Suppose if I am talking about two qualitative variable, I will usually use the term biostatistically, I will use the term association, like gender or stress, stress yes or no, gender male or female, whether stress is more among males or females, then I can use this as a association or chi-square test. Then if I want to know a related relationship between two quantitative variable, whether diastolic BP or systolic BP, the relationship, then I will use something known as relationship. So there are so many complex associations and correlations. So this usually will call it as correlation. So once again, if I am using association, that statistically means you are studying the relationship between two qualitative variables. If you are using the terminology correlation, that means you are studying the relationship between two quantitative variables, whether systolic BP increases along with diastolic BP or decreases, like that. So inferential statistics, another process is you will have a null hypothesis. And just like suppose if I am testing a new drug for corona, my null hypothesis will be this drug we want is not effective for treatment, and my alternate hypothesis will be this drug is effective for treatment. So most often I will be opting this is my interest will be to get this alternate hypothesis true rather than null hypothesis. But why we are using this sort of hypothesis testing is this is be actually copied from our judiciary part. Even a profound criminal coming to a law, court of law, they will start the trial by saying that this person is innocent, not as guilty. Why? Because if any evidences is telling them this person is guilty, or I mean, suppose if you start the trial with one person as a criminal, if any evidences which is telling that this person is innocent, then the court has to rule it as this person is totally innocent. So that is a huge, that will create a huge problem. So likewise, if the drug is actually effective, we can accept the alternate hypothesis. So that's why we are using null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. So the end result will be the p-value. P-value, what is the meaning of p-value? Is p-value is the probability of observing the data when null hypothesis is true. So suppose if I am using a new drug and I am checking for hypertension, the difference due to the new drug was 1.5 millimeter of mercury and the p-value was 0.7. That means there is 70% of chance that the reduction of BP or 1.5 millimeter will occur due to that drug. So what does it mean? The drug has got 70% chance. So as per our biostatistical concept, the chance must be less than 5%. Then only we can accept it as a true drug. So we have to accept the null hypothesis. So it is not effective. So this is how you will do. Low p-value indicate inconsistency with the null hypothesis. That means if the p-value is less than 0.05, look at here, it is 0.01. So this indicate if the alternate hypothesis is true rather than, because according to the null hypothesis, the chance of occurring 5.5 millimeter of mercury reduction in that particular trial, the chance was 1%. That means the drug is the effect is due to the true effect of that drug, not due to the sampling error or by the chance. So further, I don't want to complicate things. You just remember if the value is less than 0.05, you just think that it is statistically significant. This came from an experiment known as Ronald Fisher. Here he wanted to know the yield of a manure. So he divided his wheat field into 20 divisions, and he concluded that even 19 out of 20 divisions can produce an increase in yield. You can say that effect is due to that manure. So that means you can go wrong in 1 in 20. So if there is no increased productivity in 1 in 20, what is this 1 in 20? This 1 in 20 is known as 5% or 0.05. From this time onwards, our modern medicine people accepted this concept of probability less than 0.05. So any experiment has to be approved, the probability value or the chance must be less than 0.05 or 5% or 1 in 20. So that is the concept of p-value. So leave the complex part, just accept that if the p-value is less than 0.05, it is statistically significant. But please remember, statistical significance and clinical significance are entirely different entity. So again, I want to just stress upon the point. If you want to test the biostatistical test to quantitative variables, you will use chi-square test. To qualitative variable, you will use chi-square test. To quantitative variable, you will use correlation. And t-test, if there are only 2 categories in the qualitative, and ANOVA if there are more than 3 categories in the qualitative variable. So Rajini Masa already told you parametric and non-parametric test. That's why I want to tell you, describe you related to the distribution of data. If the data is normal, then you can use t-test or ANOVA. If it is non-parametric or the data set is not following the normality, then instead of t-test, you have to use Mann-Whitney test. Instead of ANOVA, you have to use Koskara-Wallis test. Please leave that in fancy names. Just think t-test, ANOVA, Mann-Whitney, Kruskar-Wallis is enough. So before ending my session, I just want to show you how we can do a chi-square test. Go to analyze, descriptive statistics, go to the 4th tab, cross tab. You will get a row and column. So usually disease must be in the column. So I gave imported lifestyle diseases into the column and all those factors into the row. Then I will click the statistics button. So the chi-square will come. I will check it. Then if I want to get the odds ratio, I have to check this. Then I have to click this continue. Then if I want to get the percentages, then I will go to the cells button. I will check the column box. So I will get to the column percentage. Then continue. I will get the chi-square result like this. So I will get a column percentage. 40% of males has got lifestyle disease and 59.8% of females has got lifestyle disease. So more number of females has got lifestyle disease. Then I have to look whether this data is significant or not. I will look at the chi-square test table, Pearson chi-square test, Pearson chi-square test. Look at the p-value. P-value is 0.03. So that means it is less than 0.05. So this difference is significant. So I can conclude that females has got increased lifestyle, statistically significant increased lifestyle diseases. So this is how I will conclude chi-square test. Then another one is how to take a summary measure or mean and standard deviation. So I will click that analyze. I will go to frequencies again. I will import this age. Then I will click the statistics button. So then I will check the mean, median, standard deviation, minimum, maximum. Then I will click the continue. And I will get the output. Like mean age was 49, median was like this. So you will look at the mean and median. So this is different. So that means age doesn't follow normality. So likewise, I can conclude and I will get the summary measure for quantitative variable also. So I will be leaving the session by telling you how to take t-test. So go to analyze, compare means I will take independent sample t-test. This is another name is student sample t-test. And here I will, if I click this like this, independent sample t-test, if I click this, if I click this, then I will get a box like this. Then I will import lifestyle diseases here. Then I have to give the coding, define groups 1 and 2. Then so this is the code I have given. So I have to give the coding here. Then I will click the continue button. Then all the test variables I have to import here in the test box. So then I will get something known as independent sample t-test result. So here again I have to look for. So here from here onwards the t-test result starts. So this is the significance. So here the significance is 0.119. So this that age difference among males and females is not significant. This is how I will conclude with t-test. So normality test, I am skipping this part. Checking normality also, I am just skipping. You can even check statistically with whether it is normal or not. You will get. These are the tests Rajini was talking about. So one or two sentences related to hypothesis testing. So what does not significant really mean? Or if we get a p-value more than 0.05, that means the observed difference between group is probably due to the sampling variability, or you have to look for the sample size. If you increase the sample size, probably you will get a more significant result. So please don't, my request is that please don't go behind significant p-value or less than p-value less than 0.05. If we get a p-value less than 0.5, again it could be due to some sort of bias or some sort of confounder. So please, so that's why I'm always telling you the statistical significance and whether it is important clinically is a different question. So always use your clinical judgment for before judging statistical significance. So if you want to study between the relationship between two quantitative variables, just like systolic BP and pulse, this is something known as a scatter plot. This is a graphical method. So you can see the correlation. So as pulse increases, systolic BP also increases. So you will get something known as correlation coefficient. This is another technology by which you can look for uh, relationship between two quantitative variables. This is much more complicated things, just like multivariate regression analysis. This will help you for predicting or to eliminate the confounder variables. So ultimately, the interpretation of result and inference, discussion and conclusion. These are the most important part at the end of the study. So you have to infer intelligently. You have to make an accurate discussion of with your results, and then only your conclusion will be beautiful. So with this, let me conclude my session. So thank you for your patient listening.